Hi everyone, it's Tom with the LEC recap of week 6 of the LEC Spring Split. Before we get into things, I just want to say I'm sorry for this being a day late. It's the second time I think this has happened now, but my days are pretty full and sometimes on Sunday I just really need to recharge. So I hope you all don't mind for this coming out a bit later. This week, my aim is absolutely to bring it out on Sunday, so that when it comes out on Monday after the Super Week, which will be week 8, you won't have too long of a bridge without any LEC recaps. Anyway, let's get into all the matches that were played and highlight some interesting moments as usual. We started off with Mad Lions versus SK Gaming, and the early game was relatively quiet. Mad Lions was ahead in CS in all lanes, and Oyoyo was heavily out farming Tinks, so Mad Lions was playing around the map better, which looked promising because I think Mad Lions until so far has mostly been about the team fighting, right? However, SK recognized what needed to be done. They brought Tinks to the bot lane where he got a few kills, climbed back into the game, and from there on SK was mostly in the lead. At some point Mad Lions did look like they were in the lead, but Treats had other plans, and on the Alistar, again, this guy has been popping off already in the LEC if you haven't noticed so far. But Treats support of SK Gaming, of course. He set his team up for several great team fights to win. And they completely turned it around. They were 28 in kills, and Mad Lions' only hope was getting the Ocean Soul. However, SK Gaming did not let this happen. They did not give Mad Lions any chance to give him in the game. And as fitting for a team in which support is such a standout player, the highlight is of Treats as well, finding a great engage.
Multi-tier flank. Look at Treats' positioning in that bot side jungle in the bot river. It's this flank that will destroy the Mad Lions.
Elioya knocks straight into the face of blue, pops the stopwatch immediately, but Kaiser can't get near enough to this fight. Giants coming in with World Ender. There's the knockup once again, and Elioya is eaten for dinner by SK.
You got Jezu!
The shutdown onto Jezu could be big here. You have to watch blue. Keep your eyes on blue if you're an SK fan as Mad Lions continue to push in. Genex gets a shield up. Humanoid trying to dash forward. Genex trying to do what he can with the Dark in Blade, but now there's a kill for Tinks, and the engage comes out from SK.
Then we had XL versus Misfits, which was a very early game that was very slow, I should say. Both teams were playing very passively, which was kind of expected, especially from XL, who had been having very slow early games overall. Misfits sometimes a bit scrappier, but I guess they were just playing it a bit calmer now to see if that would work for them. And, well, it did work for them because XL had a big mess up. And Misfits got 4 kills off the back of it. This was not in one team fight, but a bit spread around in combat where XL was just positioned very poorly and Misfits capitalized on it greatly. From here on, honestly, it was a bit of a one-way street. Misfits was winning everything and XL didn't seem to play the game. They didn't even seem to be able to do anything. And this is obviously very frustrating for a team that's now, I believe, on a 5-game lose streak for them. But it is what it is, and I think that XL had a lot of trouble understanding how they could even push back against Misfits, which is a worrying trend, obviously, as they're heading into the final weeks of the LEC. But on Misfits' side, obviously, after they came out of a big losing streak with some games that they absolutely should have won, not going their way, it's good to see them able to bounce back and not being absolutely mentally crumbled, which is like what could happen to a team, right? If you have high expectations or expect to make playoffs and then take a nosedive. But it's good to see them fighting back. So yeah, Misfits very comfortably won this game. Then we had Vitality versus G2. Vitality locked in a Jinx for the crown shot, and G2 had a spicy answer of their own with Mickey on the Blitzcrank. Now, Vitality's goal was obviously to get crown shot ahead early, and for a short bit it seemed like that would be actually possible, with crown shot pulling ahead a bit. Still though, you could see that Mickey was really feeling the Blitzcrank. He had a couple of great hooks, which kept G2 easily in the game. And in the mid game, G2 just turned it on. As you know, they flipped the switch and said like, okay, you know, we've played around enough, and we are just gonna end the game, which they did in a pretty exciting fashion. Yeah, it's Reckless who came online. Wunder was super proactive, playing in the face of Vitality with his set. And Vitality just did not know how to answer this. And G2 got a comfortable win there. Then we get to Rogue versus Schalke on Fear, the 4th match of the day. And this was very exciting because Schalke obviously did beat Rogue in the first half of the double round robin. And it's even though Rogue has only looked stronger since then, and Schalke was on a 4-game losing streak heading into the weekend, it still was exciting to see if perhaps this would be the wake-up call for Schalke 04. However, this wasn't the wake-up call for Schalke 04, and Rogue looked incredibly strong. Rogue was in much better shape, and even though Abadaga was playing pretty well in the mid lane, it was not enough at all for the team to be able to do anything against Rogue. Still, I think towards the end of the game, it seemed like Schalke 04 was having a team fight where it could maybe be turned around. This became a bit famous at the time, or many people were talking about it, because this is exactly where a pause happened in the middle of a team fight where it looked like Schalke would win. However, after the pause, Rogue just turned the team fight around. There was an illegitimate bug reported, which means that the game is just played from the moment it was paused. And I think the standout player for Rogue in this game was absolutely Odoamne, who I think also got the MVP, who was absolutely decimating Schalke 04 in the fights. He was not taking none of their shit, and no weak side for him, even though he just absolutely dominated everything. So yeah, this was a pretty easy victory for Rogue. And then we went on to Fnatic versus Astralis, and Fnatic was overall playing more confident in the early and mid game than Astralis was, but Astralis didn't fall off easily. I think Jeskla especially was having a great game on the Caitlyn, which is a pick that we've seen. I think this was the second time he locked it in now, and it seems to be a bit of a comfort pick, and he's playing pretty well with it, so why not go for it, right? Still, with Astralis, you always have the hope, okay, even if they're playing well, are they actually going to close out the game? But it looked like certainly they were in a great position. Even though Fnatic had pushed in most of their base, they were winning fights, they were making great picks. Unfortunately for them, yeah, they threw it away in the dumbest way possible.
It will cost them at least an inhibitor.
Yeah, I think Niski needs to TP into this fight. Selfmade could steal it over the wall. Zanzara is 3 levels down, so the smite's definitely in favor of Selfmade. I think Hylissang's going to jump in with him. Niski's not TPing, he's going for the base. If they get this Baron, I think Fnatic can end.
One, the charm going over. Selfmade is going to go for it. Flash into the picture, they get it, yes!
Oh, Selfmade
has stolen it!
Can Hylissang stop the bases? He could push in with the minion waves. The TP's coming in from MagiFelix. Doesn't have too much wave clear, so Niski could one-pop him if he walks too far forwards. Astralis taking the fight on the bot side.
Start the fight anyway, but Jesko's been stunned up, and now all of the shields coming in. Upset just backing away. They're buying a bit more time. In the meanwhile, Shen now returning to the fight. Upset flashing. Niski untouched again. MagiFelix doesn't do damage. He can't kill the minions. He can't kill the Rise. Niski, there's a TP coming in. Fnatic looking to end it in the most Fnatic fashion I've ever seen. Blippo on the respawn. He's full AP. He hits like a truck, and the Nexus is no match for the double AP threats. They're taking their time on this one.
So yeah, that's a big old yikes. Then we went to day 2, which kicked off with Schalke 04 versus Misfits. And we saw Vander on the Karma, which is the first time we saw a support, I think, on an Enchanter, since people got a bit more excited about the new Grievous Wounds item, the Chemcheck Putrefier, which applies, which gives all the people you affect with the, all the allies you affect with the spell, a 3-second window for their next attack to apply Grievous Wounds on the enemy. So, and with Karma, obviously, with her R and her shield combination, which gives all your team that shield, is a very exciting thing to see. And the game started off pretty easily, I would say, but it went downhill for Schalke pretty quickly. Gillies had a very rough game on the Olaf, and overall Schalke just didn't have much of a say again in the game. Overall, I think Hirit on Misfits side looked incredibly good again, which is very refreshing to see. I think last week, well, that's in week 5, you already could see he was playing better, but this was just such a stark contrast with his performance in week 3 and week 4, in which he was playing very questionably, but has to be said, he was playing incredibly well on the Gragas, so good for them. And in the end, if you look at the scoreline, in kills at the end was 14-4 for Misfits. So yeah, it definitely wasn't like super close for Schalke 04. And Misfits won pretty comfortably, and that scoreline actually set the tone for the rest of the day. But we have to skip past SK versus XL for that scores, but we'll discuss it now, obviously, because that was a bit more evenly, I think. And I say more evenly, and that's mostly because I think XL played better than they did on Friday. They picked a Zaya Rakan, which is a comfort pick for them, and in the lane, you can see that is working out a bit better for them. SK had a bit of a weird choice in the draft with only Twisted Faith as an ability power champion, and overall that for attack damage champions, which obviously for Excel could mean, okay, we just build armor and we survive most of the damage that SK is able to put out. And yeah, Excel actually played the early game pretty well. They took a small lead in the early game. They had their macro pretty well, but I think everything turned around and everything turned completely upside down for XL when SK had a super clean fight with a great engage 70 minutes into the game.
We deal with him. Jax is building up the Naba. Looks like they're going through bot. Midwave's pushed in. Blue is on the side.
Maybe they can kick the fight off. A brief moments of tension, but now they're looking to get things kicked off. Curtain call coming out. Blue off to the side, trying to pick someone off before the fight even starts. That's Dan gone. There's no more jungler. He goes golden. He buys a bit more space to work with. Blue trying to sidestep. The flash away. The gold card. Unavailable. Genex with a clutch Gnar and SK. They've done it again. They found a way to turn the fight. Excel. They got out executed. They got cut down.
From here, Excel just looked desperate and very shaky. They overextended and contested objectives they probably should have let go. And SK kept getting great engages with Treats and Genix, who were on fire, who were absolutely standout players in this game. Genix, who has been performing much better in the later weeks and taking the team on his back together with Treats, who had already been doing that. So a very good victory for SK Gaming, who look absolutely dominant. Then we went to Vitality versus Mad Lions, and Mad Lions had a bit of a more early focused composition with a lot of attack damage champions, but as an insurance they picked Karzi on the Sivir, who is a champion that later on in the game, when she has those like 4, 5, 6 items, yeah, it's very hard to do anything about this. And Vitality started actually off pretty well. They made Humanoid's life very difficult. They killed him a few times early on. Humanoid was on the Lucian, and it was looking like one of the games where Mad Lions was playing quote-unquote without a mid laner, because let's be real, that has happened a few times where he just ran it down in the side lane or died early on or was caught off guard. But similar to what we've seen before, unfortunately for Mad Lions, Vitality didn't know how to convert this lead into more. Mad Lions started to climb back in the game with more team fighting. And I think the standout player for me in this game was absolutely Armut, who was playing on the Wukong. And at least in 2 instances where Vitality could have turned around the team fight by walking up to Mad Lions and just outnumbering them, Armut, sacrificed himself. He dove into straight into the Vitality players, used his Wukong ult to stall them or to just knock them up, so Mad Lions could actually be the ones that turn around. Great insight from him, a very good play. And Vitality kept losing the team fights also because of this, and Mad Lions won that game. And yeah, then we went to Rogue versus Astralis. This is a very easy to summarize game. Rogue was in top shape, Astralis wasn't. Hansam was having a great day on the Kai'Sa. Promiscu and McGFeelings were having a nightmare time on Alistar and on Tristana. And it was one of the most one-sided games in the split. Hansam absolutely popped off. Astralis had nothing to say at all. I don't think this merits any more discussion. What merits more discussion though is G2 versus Fnatic, even though it ended up being almost as one-sided as Rogue versus Astralis. What was exciting about this game is that Yamato, the coach of Fnatic, had teased before that they would have something special lined up for this game, and indeed Whipple locked in the Yone for the top lane. Now, it turned out not to work too well, but obviously that's not something that you can anticipate in advance until you start playing the game. In the draft it was fine, but from early on you could see that G2 was absolutely set on revenge, and even though they weren't playing like this super proactive, looking for team fights all the time kind of style, you could see they were dominant. They absolutely were the ones exerting the pressure, whereas Fnatic, on the other hand, they were kind of like a loose cannon. They tried almost desperately to keep finding engages and keep locking up G2 in positions where G2 was pretty comfortable. It has to be said though, G2 has absolutely outplayed them in these situations. Wunder on the Gragas in the bot lane got jumped on by Upset and Hylissang, and he just outplayed them and killed both of them with great play and great maneuvering around his tower, or well, rather the bot lane tower, but obviously sometimes you swap lanes, but you get what I mean. And Mickey had great engages on the rail. He was playing phenomenally. But the highlight of this game absolutely has to go to Jankos. I'm sure you've seen it a few times already, but the guy was absolutely unbelievable on the Olaf. In the end of the game, he went 12-0, and I think he had 6 assists. And 2 of those kills came from this play that many of you might have seen before, but it's just too good not to play again.
I think that's Bwipo. He might be looking for it. Niski's TP too.
Double TP. Niski and Bwipo trying to get at least 1 kill here because they know if at least that they can kill Jankos, they can stop that Baron from going down. But look at the damage from just a single undertow. No tower stands here. Bwipo going in. Spirit Cleave coming out. There's the Ragnarok. Niski shuffles forward and the trade comes in.
Jankos!
Jankos! Jankos! That is disgusting! That is not allowed!
And that brings us to the scores and the standings in the LEC at the moment. In first place, we have G2 and Rogue together with an 11-2 score, and both of these teams have already locked in a playoff spot. In the third place, we have a shared spot between Mad Lions and SK Gaming, both at an 8-5 score. In fifth place, we find Fnatic with a 7-6 score. Then we have Misfits at a 5-8 score, together with Schalke 04 and Excel, who also have a 5-8 score. We have Astralis in 9th place now with 3 wins and 10 losses. And last is Vitality with 2 wins and 11 losses. Now for some general thoughts on the teams. I think my thoughts about Rogue and G2 can be pretty simple. These teams look incredibly good, and I think the LEC will absolutely be decided between either of them. I think one of these 2 teams will go home with the LEC trophy at the end of the split. Their map play is fantastic, their champion pool is great, not much else to be said. Then we have Mad Lions. I think that Mad Lions is still a bit too flippy for my liking, but they are finding more consistency, and especially their team fighting, which already was good, but now I think it's great. It's absolutely on the level they needed to be for the playoffs. What I would like to see more is them playing the early game better. I think that is a hurdle they still need to take. I think that overall, Mad Lions' bot lane, which obviously has struggled so far in this split, still is the weakest point, even though people meme Humanoid for the mid lane. This guy is overall in the laning phase very good, and especially later on. I still think the bot lane for Mad Lions is the weak point at the moment, so I would like to see them improve there before heading into the playoffs, and obviously they're working hard on it, but I have to point out what it is. And SK Gaming, I think SK Gaming is absolutely maybe the phenomenon of the split. You have 4 players who have not played in the LEC before, I think. Only Genox there, 5 players from 5 different rosters coming in to play together, and already they're playing so incredibly well. I was critical of Blue before in previous videos, but I have to say that last weekend he played pretty decently. And, you know, actually he was active on the map, whereas before this he was just kind of there and not doing much, in my opinion, and letting the whole team play while he was also there. I think now last weekend he actually is building up, and he was actually playing well. So I'm very happy to see that for his performance. But standout players still have to be Treats. Number 1 is absolutely one of the best support players in the LEC at the moment. Big carry for his team. And Genox in the top lane has been very good the past few weeks as well. Then we have Fnatic. Fnatic is in rough shape. I wonder if the best of 5 thing is going to pay off for them this time around. Because I think even in best of 1s, if you have trouble finding a way to play, then in best of 5s, are you going to find it? You have more time to feel out your opponent, which is good for them. But if your team is so desynchronized that you can't make, like, they were struggling against Astralis, right? And it's mostly because Astralis absolutely threw that they found their win, as you saw in the clip earlier. I'm not saying they would never have won that game otherwise, but the trouble they were having with the teams such as Astralis is worrying for me in Fnatic. I think this team still needs to work a lot on how they want to play. I have to say though, again, the bot lane of Fnatic is super consistent, super, like, their laning phase is incredible overall. So yeah, then we have Misfits. It's good to see them coming back online, especially, as I said earlier, I think that Riot and Razork and Veteo, I think the top side of Misfits is finally feeling it more, and there's not much pressure anymore on their bot lane, which I felt there was in the previous weeks, where it's either they really perform to even have a chance of winning the game or nothing happens. But yeah, they played pretty well overall. Then we have Schalke 04 and Excel, and I think for both these teams, I think Schalke 04 is on a 6-game loss streak and Excel on a 5-game loss streak. It's very tragic what's happening there. I don't know what's going wrong within the team, but they just cannot seem to find any way of bringing it together for the games. It's just rough to see, and at this point, you have to wonder if they even still have a chance of making it to the playoffs, right? Because I don't know if they can turn it around. Schalke 04 obviously did turn it around after a disastrous opening week. But yeah, I don't know if they can do it again. They have been failing to do so for a while now. Excel, same thing. Where most people are saying, okay, have they been figured out the style they want to play? And is there one dimension, you know, have they shown everything they got? And it's more and more looking like it. But we'll see. What obviously these three teams, Misfit, Schalke 04 and Excel, are going to be the ones competing probably for that playoff spot. So at the moment, you'd have to say that Misfits looks better, because they did come off a 2-0 week and did show that they've made improvements, whereas Schalke 04 and Excel has only been going downhill. And then Astralis and Vitality, I guess I'll put them in there as well. It's been pretty poor. Pretty disappointing, and not sure what else to say. I think Vitality is making small steps of progress. Astralis is also making small steps of progress, but not playoffs contenders by any means. And I really doubt that at this point they're going to do anything significant. Obviously, they might get a win or two here and there, but yeah, no reason to take these teams very seriously at the moment in the spring split anymore. And then we go to the LEC SuperFantasy lobby standings. We go to the top 10 last weekend, especially on Saturday. There were so many points that were scored. I think the number one, Witta, I can already reveal. He scored more than 500 points and was, I think, in the daily top 5 in the general lobby overall. And many people scored 300 points or more, which is very rare to see. But let's look at the standings overall. We have Witta in first place with 3,865 points. Then comes Stepan with 3,766. LocoX follows with 3,761 points. I'm in fourth place with 3,624 points. Bene is in the top 5 with 3,363 points. Then Lucky Reed at 3,307 points. Vladimir in 7th place with 3,284 points. Never Lucky at 3,101 point. Goldfire in 9th place with 3,046 points. And closely following behind Goldfire is Apollonier, 1,200 with 3,044 points. That's it for the LEC recap video of this week. Please let me know what standout moments were to you. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me a lot. I'll have 2 interviews on my YouTube channel for this week. Unfortunately, LEC teams are being a bit more restrictive or a bit more hesitant or shy to do interviews, because as the weeks come to a close, you know, as the LEC regular split comes to a close, there's more pressure on the team. So yeah, overall, I've noticed that even with other media outlets, they've not been doing as many. I still request all the teams every week, but we'll see what we'll see what happens there. If next week maybe is a bit more fruitful, we'll see. We'll keep all the content. I hope you like it. Stay tuned for more content.